what about, because, and I think this is from couple to couple. This is always going to be different from couple to couple, but seeking God together. How have you guys done that together?
Oh, Lord. Listen.
And how have you seen others maybe do it better than you, or like just what's your thoughts on seeking God together?
Yeah, I would say this. Everybody's different.
Yes.
I'm going to talk as an individual first. So I am not the type to, and if you do this, wonderful, mad props to you. I just can't do this. I am not the type that gets up in the morning and have my quiet time before the Lord and my prayer time and my reading. I'm not a morning person. So you won't ever find me doing that. But in the evenings, you'll find me reading. You know, that's when I do my time with the Lord.
Yeah.
So
I'm leaving the podcast sometimes and I'll go upstairs and see you reading.
Yeah.
So
that's my time. That's my time because I can stay up. So I say that to say, him and I, you know, we were counseled, you know, pray together and read together. And though we might do that, but listen, we can't even, we fall asleep if we pray together.
Yeah.
Or if we read, I'm a getter done. I'm like, and I'm sitting there and he's like, you know, he got to get all the technology out. And I'm like, I can't wait for you to put all that stuff together. I just want to start reading now. So our time in the Word together looks different. It looks more like, hey, babe, did you see this? What do you think about this? And we're chopping it up that way.
Yeah.
And that's our time. We don't have our devotional time together. We don't. Would I highly encourage it? Absolutely. Yeah. But don't beat yourself up if it doesn't look like the next marriage.
Yeah.
But I would say it has to happen somewhere.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
Now that you guys are like,
you wholeheartedly agree with all that?
You guys did it a lot with the kids.
We did.
Things like that.
I did it more with the kids. He was really busy as a pastor, and I think that's one of the things that if we could do it over, I'm sure he would. But I did most of that with the kids. You know, I was the one reading books and doing all that stuff with them. Devotions at dinner time, all that. But yeah, once our kids got older, you know, it was very difficult to do that.
Yeah, and I regret that.
Yeah.
You know, and I think the church environment I was in just fed into that too.
Yeah. Well, nobody ever told us to do stuff like that.
So,
ever.
What some people might not know is that, you know, the church culture we came out of just fostered a dysfunctional, you know,
ministry
home,
was first.
You know, and so that really put a dent in our family.
Yeah.
And it almost felt like what it felt like coming out of it was like the damage was already done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so sometimes people see families that come out of this and get into ministry and wonder what's going on. You know, why are they going through things? Well, sometimes coming out of that, we're still bringing things with us. You know what I mean? That we're still working through. And so not only that, we came out of like the street.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Nobody ever told us to have family devotions.
Right.
Ever. I never even heard of that before.
Nah, like, you know, so I grew up in a home where, you know, my mom just made something in the kitchen. She watched her soap operas, novellas. That's what we call them. You know what I'm saying? And we never sat down ever for dinner together, ever. There was never dinner time. None of that.
Yeah, in my house, it was only the kids that ate together.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Not even that. Like, we just went to
up?
we went to our separate rooms, and I was just like, all right, you know, I'll make a beat or whatever, you know, and go outside, hang with my homies.
But even as Christians, nobody had ever said to us, you know, you should have family devotions or you should do this together.
Yeah, because then we got into the church, but the church was so, you know, it was just fostering ministry, you know, being hands-on all the time.
Yeah.
And it's not until we got out of it that we understood, like, that was super dysfunctional.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know,
we talked about that a couple episodes, like busy, no rest.
Right.
And what that can do to your mental health and your spiritual health.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, there's times where I gotta tell Wayne, all right, it's time to lay it down.
Good.
Take a little break.
This is true. This is true. I would say with us learning how to seek God together, I think it was similar that way, where we were also at least under the idea that ministry comes first at one point in our marriage. At one point. I'm not going to say it was like that all the way through, but there were certain points where I could say ministry came first. And then I started to understand that ministry should always start at home.
Right.
that is ministry. That is your ministry. Like that's your first
that's your church.
Mission field. If there's any converts, it's at home first.
Right. Lord willing,
If there's any disciples, it's at home first. You know what I mean? Like learning to constantly and continuously love my wife. That's my greatest witness. Is those who see me the most and those who I live with. So understanding that ministry is in the home and should start. And the Bible actually says it should start in the home. And then you'll show the people at the church that you're able to help in the church. You're not going to be able to help and minister and even minister to the people in God's house if you don't do it right in your own home.
Francis is asking, how did you guys balance it out? So what are you guys doing to help?
As far as the busyness? So we have a specific day that we have our devotion. So Tuesday is usually the day that Wayne has nothing on the slate. So that's whenever we do our family devotion. I think you're gone like 3 days a week, maybe?
I'm gone like 8 days a week.
There are 8 days in a week. So we pick a specific day that we're gonna do a family devotion or just spend time together, have dinner together, whatever that looks like. We make sure we squeeze in a family day in the season of our life. But like I said, if it looks like, you know, every night he hasn't been home, he's missed dinner every night, then I do speak up and say, babe, like the kids are even like, you haven't been home all week. So we're still learning. We're still trying to find what works. And
I can tell you what has worked for us. And we, if any of you know us, especially me, I'm the Energizer Bunny. I'm not like that today because I'm feeling a little sick. But what has helped for us is ministry happened in our home, and it still does. So rather than us being outside of our home, we invite people to our home.
Oh yeah, these people have an open door policy here. I mean, I've never have, even if y'all ain't here, we're in here.
Right. Yeah. And I think that it's helpful because when I have to do groceries, well, now I do groceries online. But anyway, back then when my kids were younger, I could take so-and-so with me and my daughter with me in the car. And we can go do groceries together. Or I can fold clothes, or I can cook and show so-and-so how to cook. And you know what I mean? So they were involved in our family life. Him being outside the home happened a little bit more often than us. And then as our kids got older, we were able to do more. Right. But we did a lot of ministry at home. Yeah. I mean, I would say maybe in the very beginning when we were not, we weren't taught very well, but in the very beginning when he was doing more ministry, we weren't balancing it well. But I would recommend, especially for wives, to disciple and bring people over. That's just a neat way to balance it out.
Yeah, sometimes seeking God together is serving together too. I would say that that's a way of seeking God together, because you see God in the midst of serving, in the midst of, serving other people. So that's part of it. That can't be the whole, but that's definitely a part of learning God together. Because I found sometimes, like when we're counseling a couple or getting with somebody, sometimes God uses us and I'm like, wow, something profound was said.
Oh,
or,
yeah.
You know what I mean? And then there's some gems in conversations that take place.
Well, I remember us doing, and I know you remember this, I remember us doing premarital counseling with a couple that's going to get married. And the topic for that day in the book was, let's say, loving your spouse. And we're like, dang it, we got to go through this. And we didn't have a good day. And we got to talk about that with somebody else. Right. That was really hard, but it checks you. Yeah. So you're right. Just as much as if you teach a Sunday school class, you're preparing and you're feeding yourself. Well, when you're doing ministry together, you're checking yourself. I mean, it just automatically, naturally happens that way.
Definitely.
Right. Yeah. So there are also going to be times that, as well as, because we understand that ministry starts in the home. We understand that seeking God is done together. We understand that seeking God is done together in the marriage and also with other members of the church. But what about individually? Like, is there ever a time where you guys are individually seeking the Lord, and I don't know, maybe God places something on your heart for your spouse or something like that. Like where your individual seeking the Lord has benefited your spouse in some way.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if I can specifically answer that, but it makes me think of a time, and thanks be to God for this, but a lot of times when I'm struggling, he's doing well. And so he's able to say, babe, you can't think like that. What does the Bible say, or whatever? Yeah. And then if he's struggling, I can say, babe, that's not true. Like, and so God has worked it out in us where, individually, if I'm struggling, he's doing well. And it works that way. And I don't know how, but it does.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So I think when I seek God and I read the scriptures, I have the luxury. I call it a luxury to preach God's word weekly, because I go into the text, I dig, and sometimes it's so convicting, that I can't help but to be what God's called me to be.
Right. Yeah.
It digs into me. The word just, there was one time at Prince Street, man, I was in tears, like, just.
That is a cafe for those of you
Prince
who don't
Street
know.
Cafe.
He just wasn't out on the street.
Yeah. Not Prince Street, but Prince Street Cafe, and studying God's word and just digging in. And I'm just like, wow, how he loves us. And I just been rocked by adoption, and that spills over into my marriage.
I think you did call me or text me or something that morning.
Yeah, so that's what it's supposed to do, and that's why God's word is, incomparable when it comes to, individual devotions and prayer and just everything. Just digging in, just really, it digs into you.
Right.
So what about if there is a spouse who isn't, the house is divided, and there's a spouse who isn't pursuing the Lord? What does that look like? How do they navigate through that?
It's tough.
It is tough. It's very difficult.
I've never dealt with that as a married man or anything like that. But I did have experience with that in a previous relationship, and it's really tough. And I see other people going through that, and
right.
I can relate to them to a certain point because I dealt with that myself, but it's a whole nother level when you're married.
Yeah, it is.
Or even like when you're engaged, trying to get married, but you're like, this person that I'm about to get married to, I don't know if I'm about to make the worst mistake of my life or not, because, though I love this person, they don't love the Lord.
Yeah.
Or it has to be like, even if it's like a woman who's serving the Lord, like how does that look like when her husband's supposed to be the one taking leadership, like things like that? That's hard.
Right.
Yeah,
that's very difficult.
I'm sure you guys have counseled people that have gone through that right there.
We have. There was one particular couple we counseled, and I remember we were saying to the spouse, like, to the one, it was a wife, we were like, we don't even know if you know Jesus. Like, do you know Jesus?
Yeah, we straight up called him out, like,
because
are you saved?
Everything we had counseled biblically, she would do the opposite. And we were like, look, do you know Jesus?
Yeah, like straight up. Like, we put it out there. Like, yo, like, this is what God's word says. You're doing the opposite and you're enjoying it.
Right.
Like,
yeah, it's causing strife.
Right. No one who's born of God makes a practice of sin.
Yeah. Right.
Why does it look like you haven't been born of God? And people get offended, but when you talk about eternity and someone's soul, those questions should come up, especially in marriage.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, especially in marriage, because that's, it's there's a greater picture, and so when you're not doing what God has called you to do in your marriage, you're reviling the gospel, and so back to the spouse that maybe, the married couple that may not have a partner who is a Christian. When he read Ephesians 5, in the very beginning, it told us individually to be imitators of God. And so I would tell, whether it's a wife or a husband, that your responsibility is to be an imitator of God no matter what, as an individual. And so if you're not having family devotions because your spouse, isn't a believer, or you're not praying together, or whatever, whatever we were talking about, and you're like, man, I wish I had that. I would say, be encouraged. Two things: be an imitator of God, and then also, watch your conduct. Lord willing, out of your conduct, that your spouse would come to question and to
Scriptures say
know
that, yeah.
Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
And it's not easy. We understand that.
Yeah, conduct is directly linked to, you imitating God.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's what they need to see. That's what I told a brother recently. Like, you're right now the living epistle in your home.
That's tough.
You know what I'm
man.
saying? And let them read Jesus, and try to take your eye off of what's not happening in your home, but focus on what God has done, and celebrate that, and love those that are hard to love. And because you were loved,
Right.
that's hard to do. I mean, the brother was in tears, he was hurting, but I encouraged him with that, to keep his eyes fixed on Christ and the love that he had for him, because that's what they need to see.
And talking about your home being your ministry, I mean, what an evangelistic opportunity for that person,
Right.
To evangelize their family, to share the gospel in season and out of season, at home,
right.
at home. That's,
Absolutely.
So God is giving you out there. God is giving you a gift. And that gift is, that calling is to evangelize in your home. And so, I would say, to rejoice in the situation that you're in, even though it's difficult, but know that God can give you the ability, the strength to do what he's called you to do.
Amen.